What's going on, everybody? It's Gia here representing JiasWorld. Different scenery in the backyard, but I just wanted to do a video to discuss what is going on in Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, there's some people out there who are generally shocked and cannot believe what's going on in Charlottesville, Virginia. Then there's other people who are like, not really shocked because this is pretty much America. AmeriKKKa. Replace the C with 3 Ks, and I'm just being honest because for me, I'm one of those people that's not shocked at all, because when you look at the history of the United States of America, replace the C with 3 Ks, Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, replace the C with 3 Ks, now you know what I'm talking about. When you look at our history, this country has always been racist. This country has a history of treating racial minorities, people with darker skin complexions, people of color, like less than animals, treating us like we don't matter, denying us of basic resources and opportunities, denying us of the pursuit of happiness and freedom. I mean, hello, this country had chattel slavery for 400 years. Like, bro, come on. And then even after the Emancipation Proclamation, where they supposedly freed the slaves, we went on to have segregation and Jim Crow for 100 plus years. And then after that, here we are to this day. African Americans, Hispanic Latinos, black people, brown people, Asians, they put Japanese Americans in internment camps during World War II. They stole land and pillaged from the Native Americans when they freaking got here. When Christopher Columbus and his associates got here, this was what they were doing in this country. They were killing off, slaughtering, murdering an entire people, Native Americans, killing them, making them sick, and then stealing their land. Same thing they did to Hispanic and Native people from Mexico, and then what they did to African Americans and black people. I mean, come on. Once again, this country just has a history of racism and bigotry and hate and ignorance. So for me, looking at our history and then seeing what's happening in Charlottesville, Virginia, the sad, honest truth is it's not surprising or shocking to me at all. This is AmeriKKKa, and I feel like a lot of people in my generation, I'm just going to go on and say it, I'm a millennial, if you didn't know. I'll be 25 October 15th, born in 1992. I'm a millennial, and I feel like a lot of people in my generation are living in La La Land. There's some people in my generation who actually believe that we live in a post-racial society just because President Barack Obama was our president for 8 years. And mind you, all through his campaigning and election, it was racism. When he was elected twice, it was still racism. And people still, in my generation, for some reason, when we went to school with people of color, my friends are black, and they all have these same, to me, just cliche responses. But there's a lot of people in my generation who, for lack of a better term, like, they're just ignorant. They're ignorant, and they live in La La Land, and they think everything is hunky-dory and everything is roses, and it's just not. This is the reality. I also see a lot of people on my social media timeline complaining how their white friends and other non-black people of color are not saying anything about what's going on in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to list a couple of reasons why I'm not shocked or surprised by that. Once again, people will show their true colors when things get real, when the going gets tough. When things get real desperate, that's when you will start noticing who really is your friend, who really is your ally. You'll start realizing a lot of these allies could give two shits about you, and it's just a reality. It's sad, but it's a reality, and me and my friend, we used to have these conversations before, and this is really deep. It's like basically the conversation was about, can you really be friends with an oppressor? or a person who is a part of an oppressor group. And I was like, dang, that's deep. And then to what just took place yesterday, this past weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, pretty much proves what me and my friend were talking about. You know, essentially, you don't have friends, you have associates. You associate with them. Because friends check on each other. Friends stand up for each other. Friends support each other. And if you're truly an ally, and that's another thing, I'm so sick and tired of that term ally and allyship, because, you know, it's getting to the point where, for me personally, it's just a word. Just like social justice has been hijacked, and it's just a word too, because a lot of people will claim to be social justice activists and claim to be allies, but when you look at their track work, they don't do shit. So it's just a nice cushion word that people are throwing around so loosely and using. So it's just been hijacked. So I don't really care for these words. I'm all about action over rhetoric. So you can sit up all day and talk about how you're an ally and you're a friend and you're an activist, but yet when things like this are occurring on a daily basis and you're quiet and you don't say nothing and you don't do nothing, that just proves my point. So yeah, I knew I had to make a video on this because, you know, people who know me know how I feel about these type of issues and the type of work that I do and where my educational background comes from. Like, I'm pretty much a social scientist. My master's is in social science. So I've studied the trends, okay, for years. So once again, when you look at, for me, when I look at what's going on in Charlottesville, Virginia, it's not shocking, it's not surprising, it's just history repeating itself. And when you don't learn from history and you try to sugarcoat history, this type of behavior will continue. And until we get to the root cause of racism and white supremacy, we're never going to get past racism, because we have to look at how white supremacy works. We have to look at how racism works, and we have to look at how it oppresses people and at the same time elevates other people to become oppressors. We have to look at the systems that are in place that allow this hate, ignorance, and bigotry to flourish. And that is something that AmeriKKKa has yet to do. So I just thought I would do a video to express my viewpoints on this. And once again, you know, we have to resist ignorance, hate, bigotry. We have to resist it, but at the same time, I'm not going to get up here and preach some cliche nonviolence, because to me, once again, people might get upset when I say this. You can use any tactics you want, right? There's all kinds of tactics to fight against oppression. There's all kinds of tactics to actually be a true ally, or shout out to Dr. John Paul, an accomplice. There's so many ways of doing different things, but I feel like for me, how can you be nonviolent when the person you're going against wants to kill you, wants to inflict harm on you, wants your family, your friends, your communities to die? How can you use nonviolent tactics against that? So I'm not going to sit up here and give you guys some cliche, we shall overcome, kumbaya. No, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is, be careful. Be careful and be mindful of the people you call your friends. Okay, be mindful. And also, I'm going to say this for all the people of color out there, for all my black brothers and sisters, for all my black kings and queens, for all my people of color kings and queens, and for every really marginalized group in the world. Try to practice self-care. Self-care is very important in times like this. Sometimes you have to log off social media. Sometimes you got to go MIA, missing in action. Sometimes you got to take a break. Sometimes you need to focus on you, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed, stressed out, and we don't deserve that. So take time for you. I'm going to send love. I'm going to send positivity. I'm going to send light. I'm going to send that to everybody. But be mindful, be careful, and practice self-care.